Let's go Dolphins! The league's backroom dealings are already buzzing after comments made on Adam Schefter's podcast, where it was reported that NFL executives consider this free agent class relatively weak and the upcoming draft not very promising either. And when that happens, when teams don't trust free agency and aren't fully convinced by the draft, you know what that implies? Trades. Lots of trades. There are even rumors in the league about expanding the number of future draft picks teams can trade. Currently, you can only trade picks up to 3 years in advance. Owners are reportedly considering extending that time frame to 5 years, similar to the NBA model. If this change is approved, it will open the door to blockbuster trades we haven't even imagined yet. And right in the middle of this storm, the Miami Dolphins. John Eric Sullivan's phone should be ringing nonstop this summer. The new general manager comes from scouting, and several league sources believe he prioritizes draft picks above all else. He loves picks. He loves building the team through the draft. With the new management officially leading the franchise in a rebuilding process, other teams will test Miami's resolve by calling to inquire about some of the roster's most valuable players. But before we proceed, like this post right now, but only if you're a true Miami Dolphins fan, ready to follow every phase of this rebuilding process. And if you've been a fan of this team for over 20 years, I want to see you in the comments typing, "Go Dolphins!" My heart bleeds turquoise and orange. Now let's get to what's really happening. Let's face reality. Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill are not expected to be traded. Their contracts have a salary cap impact exceeding $50 million, and no team will accept that in a trade. The expectation is that both will be waived due to these astronomical values. That's the financial truth of the situation. But which players could realistically be traded? That's where things get really interesting. Jaylen Waddle, Devon Achane, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Bradley Chubb, Austin Jackson. These 5 names should receive the most calls. Let's start with Jaylen Waddle. We know he generated a lot of trade interest at the end of last season when the Miami Dolphins were selling players. The Denver Broncos, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Giants were reportedly the most aggressive teams in the race. Buffalo even offered a first-round pick, plus other assets, but Miami demanded at least 2 first-round picks due to the luxury tax between teams in the same division. The Giants and the Broncos also offered first-round picks, but the Dolphins stood firm. Now, this is where things get complicated. Waddle is entering the first year of his 3-year contract extension. If you trade him before June 1st, you actually lose salary cap space. After June 1st, you save about $4 to $5 million, but you don't get draft capital for this year. And remember, if Tyreek Hill leaves, trading Waddle creates a huge gap at the wide receiver position. His main receiver would be Malik Washington. That's not enough for a competitive roster. Even in a draft that features promising names like Jordan Tyson, My Lemon, and Carnell Tate in the first round, there's no guarantee that any of them will be better than Waddle. Younger? Yes. Cheaper? Yes. Better? It's a gamble. Unless Miami receives an irresistible offer, something like 2 first-round picks, trading Waddle could create more problems than solutions. Now, Devon Achane is a completely different conversation. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract in 2026 and will only receive $2 million. That's an absolute bargain for a player considered one of the top 5 running backs in the league. But here's the big question. Will you re-sign him? If you don't commit long-term, drama in training camp becomes almost inevitable. Why would Achane risk an injury without a new contract? He wasn't drafted by this front office. He doesn't owe them anything. If there's no renewal, we could see strikes in OTAs and minicamp. And when you look at the running back market, players like James Cook are making around $14 to $15 million a year. Achane, with his dual threat value, could demand even more. Something like 3 years, $45 to $48 million, isn't unrealistic. But here's the dilemma. Historically, teams haven't won the Super Bowl when running backs consumed more than 4 to 5% of the salary cap. So, if Sullivan doesn't want to allocate that kind of money during a rebuild, the trade market for Achane could explode. A choice side or release, it's difficult to see him staying at that price point. Austin Jackson's injury history and expiring deal also make him a logical trade chip. But Minkah Fitzpatrick is where the debate heats up. He was outstanding in 2025 and fits beautifully in Jeff Hafley's defensive system. Safeties flourished under Hafley in Green Bay, and keeping Minkah could give Miami a cornerstone piece on defense. Trading him might net a 4th-round pick, but keeping him could stabilize the entire secondary during this rebuild. And here's where things really start to heat up, because once you understand the financial structure and the direction of this new regime, you begin to see that this isn't just about individual players. This is about identity. This is about how John Eric Sullivan wants to shape the Miami Dolphins moving forward. If the league truly believes this draft and free agency cycle is weak, then the value of proven players increases dramatically. That's basic supply and demand. Teams that feel like they're one piece away from contending won't want to gamble on an improving rookie class. They'll want established production. And Miami has established production. Let's circle back to Devon Achane for a moment, because his situation could define this offseason. You're looking at a top 5 running back in the NFL making $2 million in the final year of his deal. That's incredible value. But it's also a ticking clock. If you extend it, You're potentially committing $15 to $16 million per season during a rebuild. If you don't extend it, you risk a holdout and potentially losing it for nothing after 2026. That's not smart asset management. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Rebuilding teams often trade running backs at peak value. If a contender picks late in the first round and believes Achane is the missing piece to a championship run, that phone call becomes very tempting, especially for a general manager who reportedly loves draft picks and wants to stack day 2 and day 3 capital. Now, imagine Miami moving Achane for a late first-round pick. That instantly gives Sullivan another premium asset in a draft where he believes he can identify culture fits and long-term foundational players. And when you look at the running back room, there is depth. Jalen Wright showed real flashes in the back half of the season. Ollie Gordon impressed in limited opportunities. Is it the same explosiveness as Achane? No. But could it function as a cost-controlled committee while the roster resets? Absolutely. Then there's Jaylen Waddle again. The emotional attachment from fans is real, and it's justified. He's electric. He's proven. But if Miami truly wants maximum flexibility, Waddle's name will continue surfacing in league circles. Remember, he already drew serious offers at the trade deadline. Teams like Denver, Buffalo, and the Giants were aggressive. That interest doesn't disappear. If anything, it intensifies when the league realizes Miami is leaning into a rebuild. But the financial structure still complicates things. Trading you pre-June 1st actually costs cap space. Post-June 1st saves a little, but delays draft compensation. So unless an offer blows Sullivan away, it may not make strategic sense to move him right now. And drafting a rookie wide receiver to replace Waddle doesn't guarantee equal production, especially when this class, while solid at the top, isn't considered generational. Now let's shift to the defensive side, because that's where the financial math becomes even louder. Bradley Chubb's $30 million cap hit in both 2026 and 2027 almost feels like a flashing neon sign. It's hard to envision a rebuilding team allocating that kind of money to an aging pass rusher. Whether via trade or post-June 1st release, the savings are substantial. Nearly $20 million can be freed up. That's flexibility. That's future maneuverability. Austin Jackson is another interesting piece. He's entering the final year of his deal and has battled injuries. If you can move him to a 5th or 6th round pick and reset at right tackle with a younger, healthier option, that fits the blueprint of a rebuild. It's not flashy, but it's practical. And then we have Minkah Fitzpatrick. This one is the true debate internally. He was outstanding in 2025. In Jeff Hafley's defensive system, there's a real argument that Minkah could elevate even further. Safeties have thrived under Hafley before. Keeping Minkah gives you leadership, production, and continuity on a defense that may already be losing veteran pieces. But again, if the offer is right, if a team is willing to give up a mid-round pick and Miami sees long-term savings post-June 1st of around $10 million, the conversation becomes real. That's the tension of this entire offseason. It's not about whether these players are good. It's about timeline alignment. Do they fit the competitive window Sullivan envisions? And let's not ignore the psychological component. When a new regime comes in, they often want their guys. Players they drafted. Players they evaluated. Players who fit their culture from day one. Sullivan comes from a scouting background. He believes in his evaluations. That means draft capital isn't just currency, it's control. The Dolphins are standing at a crossroads. They can try to patch things together with high-priced veterans and hope to stay competitive during a transition. Or they can lean fully into the reset, absorb short-term pain, accumulate picks, and build something sustainable. What makes this offseason fascinating is that the broader league environment encourages boldness, weak free agency, questionable draft depth, potential expansion of future pick trading. Teams will get aggressive, and when they do, Miami's roster will be one of the first they scan for talent to acquire. So here's the real question for you as a Dolphins fan. Are you willing to take a step back in 2026 if it means positioning this franchise for long-term dominance? Or do you believe holding onto players like Achane and Minkah is essential to maintaining a competitive identity during the rebuild? Because the decisions made in the next few months won't just shape one season, they'll define the next era of Miami Dolphins football. What direction would you choose if you were in John Eric Sullivan's chair right now?